See silver all the time, but right now it's making headlines for a totally different reason. Its price is absolutely skyrocketing. And in this explainer, we're going to dig into exactly why that is. I mean, just look at this chart. A 60% surge in the price of silver. That's not just a little bump. That is a straight up rocket launch that has the entire financial world sitting up and paying very close attention. So you're probably asking two big questions right now. Why is this happening? And maybe the more important one, is it too late to get in on the action? All right, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to look under the hood. So let's break down the powerful forces that are pushing silver's price into the stratosphere. It really boils down to this perfect storm of three key factors: a huge spike in industrial demand, a global supply that just can't keep up, and silver's age-old status as a safe bet when the dollar looks a little shaky. So the first thing you have to get about silver is that it isn't just a pretty metal sitting in a vault. Nope. This thing is a workhorse. It's a critical and often irreplaceable component in the tech that powers our world, from solar panels and EVs to the electronics in your pocket and even life-saving medical gear. And to give you an idea of just how huge this industrial demand is, get this. The solar industry, by itself, uses up a whopping 20% of the entire global silver supply. Just one industry. And all that relentless demand has led to a major crunch. See, for the last 3 years, we've actually been using more silver than we've been able to mine. This isn't some temporary hiccup. It's a fundamental imbalance, and it is putting serious upward pressure on prices. But the factory floor is only half the story. The other half is silver's reputation as a financial safe harbor. Just like gold, whenever investors get nervous about inflation or a wobbly dollar, they flock to silver to protect their wealth. And speaking of gold, you really can't talk about silver without mentioning its big, famous sibling. But let me tell you, this family relationship is complicated. Okay, so here's the deal. Gold, it's the steady, reliable one, the ultimate safe haven. But silver, it's a total hybrid. It's part industrial metal, part precious metal. And that dual identity is exactly what makes it so much more unpredictable. And this chart just shows it perfectly. Look at gold's path. It's a pretty smooth climb, right? Now look at silver. It follows the same general direction, but man, is it a wilder ride, with much higher highs and much lower lows. That's the volatility. It's the risk, but it's also where the potential for bigger gains comes from. Here's a great way to think about it. If gold is like a dependable family sedan, silver is the high-performance sports car. When the road is clear, it absolutely flies, but hit a sharp turn and it can spin out way, way faster. So what does all this volatility, this wild ride, mean for you? Well, if you're thinking about jumping in, you've got to go in with your eyes wide open. Let's really weigh the pros and cons. So on the plus side, you've got some really strong arguments for silver. It's cheaper to get into than gold, for one. That industrial demand is real and growing, and the supply squeeze could push prices even higher. But then you flip it over to the risks. That insane volatility can work against you. Hype from speculators can create bubbles. And of course, a big global recession could really dent that industrial demand. Look, navigating this market isn't about throwing a dart at a board. It's about having the right tools. So let's build out your investor toolkit so you can make some smart, informed decisions here. Which leads us to the million-dollar question for anyone looking at silver right now. How do you know if today's price is fair, or are you about to buy right at the peak of the market? Okay, so one of the key tools the pros use is something called the gold to silver ratio. It sounds complicated, but it's super simple. You just take the price of gold and divide it by the price of silver. And historically, when that number gets high, let's say over 80, it's often been a signal that silver might be a bargain compared to gold. And this chart shows you exactly how that works. See how as the gold to silver ratio goes down, meaning silver's getting more expensive relative to gold, the actual price of silver itself tends to go up? It's like a seesaw, and a lot of traders watch this very closely to time their moves. All right, so if you're thinking about dipping a toe in, here's a simple 3-step game plan to consider. First, don't just dump all your money in at once. Invest gradually, maybe a little bit each month, to average out your cost and reduce risk. Second, diversify. A mix of gold and silver can give you better balance. And third, pick your vehicle. For most beginners, things like ETFs or digital silver are often the safest and easiest ways to start.
Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't necessarily to bet everything on one or the other. It's about creating a portfolio that's balanced, that has some resilience no matter which way the winds are blowing.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's wrap this up with a quick recap of the key takeaways. So, here's the bottom line. Why is it rising? That perfect storm of industrial demand, a supply crunch, and its safe haven status. Is it a good time to get in? Well, the potential upside is there for sure, but so are the risks. And how should you invest? Cautiously. Do your homework, diversify, and pick the right tool for the job. And all this leaves us with one final, really big question. When you think about silver's dual personality powering our future green tech while also being this ancient store of wealth, you have to ask, is silver becoming the most important metal of the 21st century? I guess that's something we're all going to find out together.